Welcome back to the Eric Krown crypto channel. Wishing you a happy early start to this nice Tuesday morning here. I just wanted to follow up on yesterday's short-term time frame analysis, or at least the relative short-term, looking for that downside move somewhere around about low 27,000 bucks. So looks like we got that in the overnight session, and then where that essentially leads up into today, what that means for the higher term timeframes, and then even a bit of a setup. Good old setups on the lower term timeframes yet again as the market continues to ebb and flow. Other than that, I do want to once again give a highlight to the current promotion going on for Bybit, as they are offering up 0% on maker fees for derivative contract orders, and you can even get the Jewel Light for free for the first month if you do have a trading volume of 100,000. But again, what I should say is that the 0% maker fees, that is unrelated to that. You get that as long as you sign up with that link in the description below. All right, sweet. So let's just jump right into it. Starting off with kind of a follow-up of yesterday's analysis. We were looking at downside as more likely somewhere around the bottom side of the 12-hour/daily HPDR range lows, which is right here at about low 27,000 bucks. That was based off of a few things, one of them being daily stochastic momentum, as well as all lower term timeframe stochastic momentum, all pointed to the south side. And then we even saw over here on the daily RSI a few drives of bearish divergence come off the last couple highs here. So ultimately that was driving downside biases in the short term. Now that we've hit that short term sort of area of interest at low 27,000 bucks, what's the most likely thing to happen? Well, so far it's a pretty damn good bounce, to be fair, as Bitcoin continues to range. But of course, as long as Bitcoin is playing within this overall range, there's really nothing new that's happened, obviously. The range being about 27,000 to the downside versus the mean over here, or sorry, the median right here, which is 28,700 on a 12-hour time frame closing basis. That is to say that if Bitcoin can close above or below, then we very likely do see the next sort of trending move, if you will, below 27,000 bucks. At that point, very likely looking somewhere back down to low 26 before the next bounce, and then probably Bitcoin comes down all the way to 25 after that, or maybe even a little bit slightly below 25. And by the same token, closing back above the medium band right here, which is again upper 28s, about 28,700 or so. At that point, I'd be looking for Bitcoin to actually put in a move into the low $30,000 territory. Anyways. So now that we've spoken about that, I do want to get into what this means for the higher term timeframes. As if we go over here to the weekly time frame, a few things of interest happened in the last 48 hours. So of course, the biggest one was that Bitcoin closed above the mean band here on the Gaussian channel. That happened Sunday night, obviously. And as you can see, Bitcoin has actually come down to the mean band. Also another reason why we had that sort of short-term target from yesterday, or area of interest, I should say, and bounced off of it thus far, actually perfectly to the T, it looks like, at 27,000. Low 27,000 bucks right there. So again, as long as Bitcoin is above the mean band on a weekly closing basis, the more likely thing to happen is Bitcoin to explore over the next month or so somewhere around the top side of the Gaussian channel. Similar to what we did see on the 5-day, where anytime that Bitcoin has actually closed back above and reclaimed that mean band, it's gotten a free ride to the top side band. You can see the same thing over here. And this is within the context of it turning red, I should also add. See the same thing over here, close above the mean band, boom, free ride, and then bust on through later on. Again, close above over here, free ride at the top side, and then busting action. And then same thing, a couple more times, which, you can see for yourself, I suppose. Anyways, now that we've gone through that, again, going back to the weekly over here, you can see perfect retest thus far. Well, again, as long as Bitcoin's above 27,000, long term, I still have to favor the upside. Below 27,000 on, let's say, like a daily 12-hour closure, that's at the point where first I'd be looking for another $1,000 slide or so, probably a short-term bounce at around low 26, and then probably down to like 25-ish, give or take a few bucks from that number. But right now in the short-term timeframes, or the relative short-term timeframes, there is a setup emerging right here. So this is the 2-hour timeframe with the HPDR indicator overlaid in the background, obviously. I'm just checking on the time. Oh man, this video is fucking fast. I'm speed of lightning, Mr. Flash. I think, maybe, who knows. Anyways, just trying to make it exciting, okay? That's all I'm trying to do here. Anyways, we do see several closures below the blue range lows right here. That's the 50% of historic returns range lows. And if we go and highlight, or I actually don't even have BBWP on over here, but I can assure you that if we do have BBWP representing volatility, we'll notice that there is a decline in volatility on particularly this closure right here. So we can see, boom, yep, come down, down, down on the moving average, the white portion right there. That initiates a setup where a bounce is more likely. How much more likely? Well, let's throw on our nice strategy tester over here. And as you can see, over the past 352 tested iterations, which I think, let's see how far back this goes. I'm just curious. This goes back, oh yeah, that goes back all the way to 2018. So it doesn't really happen all that often, of course, on a 2-hour time frame, but still pretty damn good. As you can see, did have a 73% strike rate for, you know, a nice bounce, obviously, somewhere between about 3% to 5%. And in this case, you know, from that particular setup, which was highlighted about 27,700, what would 3% on top of current price action look like? That would actually put Bitcoin somewhere around yesterday's highs at about 28,500. On the upper end, 5% puts Bitcoin in a much more interesting place, actually. The top side of the 50% of historical returns range highs, and more importantly, 28,900 or so, which would obviously come into collision with the median range right here on the 12-hour time frame. So if Bitcoin were to initiate that move in the short-term time frame, which then bled on over into the 12-hour time frame right here, closing above this region, at that point, maybe there's a short-term pullback, but ultimately, it would be more likely that Bitcoin would probably try and move somewhere a little bit above 30,000 bucks actually in the coming days. So looking at this and kind of putting the puzzle piece together right here, for right now, does that have a higher probability? Yes, just based off these statistics that we can bring up yet again. And also, I always want to highlight that these numbers right here, the simulation numbers, the net profit, max drawdown, these sort of things, these are simulated with an average position size, or not an average, but a base position size of, I believe, 300,000. Let me just double check on this one. 300,000 on an account size of 500,000. So again, these numbers are simulated with that. That may or may not be relevant to you. But what's most interesting, of course, is the hit rate, profit factor. These sort of things are what we're looking for. And of course, having a higher probability at about 73%. I'm going to favor the short-term upside. In fact, yesterday I completely missed it as well. There was an hourly setup right here, which, on average gets about 2.25%. Obviously, that one also played out as well. But I did miss that one from yesterday. So I should have been able to talk about the very short term and then come back down. We would have been perfect, but you know what? That's all good. No, that's not what it's about, man. Perfection is a fool's game. It's a Twitter bullshit, YouTube bullshit game. You can't be fucking perfect in trading. All you can be perfect with is taking your setups and playing them out in the way that they were designed. Everything else is just statistics and data. And all predictions are silly. They're just fucking silly. Anyways, I'll get off on the high horse on that. But yeah, in this case, that would suggest that this does have a higher probability in the short term of a bouncy bounce. But of course, when we're talking about probabilities, we're not talking about certainties. 73% is pretty fucking high, but it ain't 100%. So what would be an invalidation and what would be the insinuation on the other side if this were to be invalidated? Well, we need to see a closure below basically the wick low right here, which is about 27,400 or so. At that point, Bitcoin very likely comes back down to retest the lows from the last day at about low 27. And at that point, obviously, the other side can come into fruition here because, again, 12-hour closures below this region, or especially daily closures below this region. At that point, very likely looking back down to low 26s before the next medium-term time frame bounce. And then, personally speaking, I think that one would probably fail, and you probably see that move occur down to maybe a little bit below 25,000 bucks. And I want to come back to it after that. But for right now, you can see that things are rather tight within this region. I mean, Bitcoin's been consolidating here for the last 2 weeks now? Yeah, about 2 weeks. We got into this range March 20th or so. We are on April 4th. So yeah, around there. Bitcoin probably poised to break out, I think, a little bit later this week, honestly. Anyways, I think that's a good place for me to be leaving off on this particular video. As always, I want to be wishing you the best. Take care, much love, and motherfucker, I forgot to mention it, but for the people on the algo whitelist, or for the people who were emailed in the last 24 hours, or we sent out some more emails to people. There were about 3 of you. In the last 24 hours, just check your inboxes because we do expect a response relatively soon. Otherwise, we'll just go to the next person. All right, sweet. That's going to do it for today. As always, wish you the best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully soon.